Hello there, very good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1. On behalf of the Newsfirst, the voice of the people, I'm Martin Satyanesan. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for this afternoon.
All schools, universities, preschools, Piriven institutes and tuition classes to remain closed until further notice, says Minister of Education. 5,900 people who failed to wear face masks arrested. Construction of Sri Lanka's 7th expressway commences. 54.7 billion rupees allocated for the project.
දක්ෂිණ අධිවේගී මාර්ගයට අපි මුල පුරන්නේ රටේ යුද්ධයක් තියාගෙන. අද අපි රුවන්පුර අධිවේගී මාර්ගයට මුල පුරන්නේ රට පමණක් නෙමෙයි මුළු ලෝකෙම කොවිඩ් වසංගතයෙන් වෙලාගත් අභියෝගාත්මක අවස්ථාවක.
Former President of the Maldives still in hospital following blast.
On to those stories in detail. Sri Lanka recorded 11 COVID-19 deaths yesterday, raising the total number of deaths due to virus up to 745. The Department of Government Information said that the deceased included 7 females and 4 males. They are residents of Immalua, Kuliyapitiya, Katuwana, Bentota, Siduwa, Mallavagedara, Gelioya, Jaffna, Udawalava, Bulutota and Colombo 3. Meanwhile, 1,895 COVID-19 infected cases were reported in the country yesterday, raising the total tally of infections up to 119,424. Official figures indicate that 810 individuals had recovered from the virus yesterday. This brought the total number of recoveries up to 100,885. At present, 17,805 infected individuals are under medical care. Meanwhile, operations are being carried out across the country to identify individuals who flout COVID-19 regulations. Individuals who fail to wear face masks are among those arrested during this operation.
Long-distance buses operating in Balangoda were subject to special search operations by the police. According to the police, these operations had been carried out as part of efforts to stem the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Searches were also carried out on eateries and stores by the Balangoda Urban Council and public health inspectors. The police apprised the public of the quarantine regulations that are currently in effect. Meanwhile, 8 individuals who engaged in betting while flouting COVID-19 regulations were arrested in the Hungamu area in Bandaragama. The police had carried out this operation based on information provided by residents. The suspects have been identified as residents of Hungamu. Public health inspectors of Bandaragama took steps to direct the suspects to quarantine. Meanwhile, the police noted certain individuals who were involved in betting had fled the area at the time of the incident. A search operation is currently underway to track down the suspects.
The highest number of arrests were carried out yesterday during the period between the 30th of October and the 6th of May. The number of arrested suspects amounted to 436. We have arrested 5,922 individuals for flouting COVID-19 regulations since they came into effect. We will continue to carry out operations in the country. 101 suspects among the 436 arrested yesterday were from the Colombo Central region. We have arrested 101 individuals for failing to wear face masks in Petta and Dam Street since 1 p.m. yesterday. The police headquarters has issued a directive to carry out search operations on public transport services. We have continued to monitor public activity concerning mobile vendors, daycare centers, cinema halls, eateries and tuition classes. We have conducted searches on 852 such institutions and 3,000 individuals. During those operations, we arrested 12 people for violating COVID-19 regulations. At the same time, we have directed 14 people to undergo quarantine for 14 days based on the advice of medical experts.
Several more Grama Niladhari divisions in the Colombo, Gampaha and Kaluthara districts were isolated with effect from this morning.
Halpita, Kasbeva East, Markandana West, Newngama and Polhena Grama Niladari divisions in the already isolated Piliyandala police jurisdiction in the Colombo district were also placed in isolation from this morning. Further, the Eldenia East, Suryapalua South and North, Lower Karagaha Amuna, North and Upper Karagaha Amuna areas of the Kadawatha police jurisdiction in the Gampha district have also been isolated. Moreover, the Yatiyana West Gramanildari division in the Pimbura and Matugama police jurisdictions falling under the purview of the Agalavatta police jurisdiction in the Kalutara district were also isolated. The isolation status of the Inguru Daluwa, Palavatta East, Miriswatta and Lower Hevassa Gramanildari divisions in the Kalutara district was lifted this morning.
Still on news revolving the COVID-19 situation in the country, schools, universities, preschools, Piriven institutions and tuition classes in the country will remain closed until further notice. Minister of Education Professor G.L. Piri said the date of recommencement will be announced 3 days prior to the commencement date.
Due to the prevailing COVID-19 situation, we have decided to suspend the reopening of schools, preschools, Piriven institutions and tuition classes. The same applies to universities as well. The government wants to ensure that academic activities are not interrupted, but prominence must be given to the safety of our children. Once the situation returns to normalcy, we will reopen schools and universities. We will inform the date of recommencement 3 days prior to that.
එසේ කිරීමට පෙර අවම වශයෙන් දින 3ක කල්දීමක් කළා ඒ දිනය ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කිරීමට අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
The COVID-19 pandemic has caused nearly 6.9 million deaths across the world, more than double the number of officially recorded. Under order by the Supreme Court, India's government agreed to provide more medical oxygen to hospitals in the capital city of New Delhi, potentially easing a 2-week-old shortage that worsened the country's exploding coronavirus crisis. Australia will resume repatriation flights for some citizens in India after a controversial ban on arrivals from the country ends on 15th of May. A look back at your local news. A media briefing was held at the Centre for Labour Struggles in order to comment on the measures taken by the government on the country's labour force in light of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The government has issued a circular to the state service on the 7th of April. That circular has been issued in an evasive manner because the responsibility has been directly placed on heads of institutions. According to the circular, employees can be asked to report for duty in person 8 days of the week and be allowed to stay home on the other days of the month. However, it can only be done on the discretion of the heads. No mention has been made in the circular on providing maternal leave. 79 expectant mothers are receiving medical treatment after contracting COVID-19 and one of them has already lost her life. More than 2,500 health workers are not working as permanent employees. If they lose their lives due to COVID-19, no compensation will be provided to their families. We request them to go to Nimal Siripala's house and demand compensation from him. He has made a statement saying if operations of a private institution are halted, employees should be provided half of their total remuneration for that month. How can heads of institutions announce it to their subordinates? They are going to pocket all the benefits and additional allowances. Vehicle permits are sold. The people are struggling to live, but the port city is given priority. Those matters are being expedited. This government does not intend to solve the burning issues of the general public.
The construction work on the first phase of the Ruwanpura Expressway commenced today under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa.
The opening ceremony was held at Temple Trees today via digital technology in the light of the COVID-19 outbreak. The Ruwanpura Expressway, spanning 73.9 kilometers, is a proposed project under the Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor, which is the government's policy statement. This will be included as the 7th expressway to the road network of Sri Lanka. The proposed Ruwanpura Expressway will be constructed from the Kahatuluwa interchange to Palmadulla via Ingiriya and Ratnapura. The expressway will be constructed under 3 phases. The first phase of the 24.3 kilometer section from Kahathuduwa to Ingiriya will be constructed at the cost of 54.7 billion rupees. The construction work of the Ruwanpura Expressway is expected to be completed within 30 months. According to the Minister of Highways, following the construction of the Ruwanpura Expressway, the traffic congestion on the Panaduru Ratnapura and Colombo Vellavaya Batiklo roads will be significantly reduced. This is the 7th expressway in Sri Lanka. We drafted plans to construct the Ruwanpura Expressway in 2014. However, we lost the election before being able to construct it. Expressways have drawn heavy condemnation in the country, but those who criticize the construction activities are now travelling in the comfort of expressways. We commenced work on the Southern Expressway during a war. Today we embark on the Ruwanpura Expressway project while the entire world is battling the COVID-19 pandemic. As a government, we have prioritized the protection of the people during this period. However, we have not avoided development activities despite the challenging circumstances. The entire world is grappling with the COVID-19 pandemic, but that does not leave us with the possibility of closing down the entire country.
Is Sri Lanka's debt burden greater than its gross domestic product? The National Intellectuals Organization elaborated on the Central Bank report for 2020 and the current state of the economy at a media briefing.
The economy has worsened. The industry sector has collapsed in 2020 by 6.9%. For a country which has a debt burden in excess of 30 billion, it has only brought in investments worth less than 1 billion. Total debt burden has surpassed GDP. Foreign reserves should be sufficient for us to at least make loan payments and to pay for imports. Foreign reserves have dropped from $7.6 billion in 2019 to 5.7 billion in 2020. The government is facing a crisis to source funds apart from illegal methods such as laundering money. They make the port city look like a utopia, but it is not mentioned in the central bank report. The concern of money laundering and money transfers occurring to purchase weapons and ammunition has been talked about, especially with regard to the port city. There is growing belief that Sri Lanka will become a country for those two factors. Intellectuals have warned of it becoming a reality when observing the provisions of the Port City Economic Commission Bill. That exclusive economic zone will be exempt from several laws of the land, especially the Finance Act. The central bank report offers a hint that money laundering could occur. In excess of 3,000 reports have emerged on dubious transactions or money laundering in the year 2020 alone. That translates to nearly 10 per day.
money laundering පිළිබඳවත් එළිදරව් කිරීමක් කරනවා ලංකාවේ එහෙම දේවල් වෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා මේ මහා බැංකුව වාර්තාවට අනුව.
A tense situation was reported in Ampara after residents opposed the opening of a liquor store yesterday.
Locals and Buddhist monks had opposed the opening of a bar along the Karthivu Road in Mihithupura in Ampara yesterday. The Sri Vidyananda Pirivana is located 150 meters from the liquor store.
මේ කරන්නේ මේ රටට පලාතර ප්‍රදේශයට බරපතල හානියක් කියන බවද අපි මේ අවස්ථාවේ සිහිපත් කරනු ලබනවා. අපේ කම
We consider the opening of the liquor store in this area as a move to bury our culture and values. Leaders and officials don't speak about development, but they rally around to open liquor stores.
නමුත් සුරාසල් ආරම්භ කරන්න නායකයෝ පාලකයෝ පෙළ ගැහෙනවා.
The Ampara police then arrived at the scene of the protest.
මාත්‍ය ඔබතුමා මෙතෙන්ට ඔබතුමාගේ ලිපි ලේඛන අරගෙන වහාම එන්න. ඔබතුමාත් එක්ක වෙන අපිට කතා කරන ක්‍රමවේදයක් නැහැ. ඔබතුමා මොන රාජකාරිය හිටියත් දැන් මෙතෙන්ට අනිවාර්යෙන් පැමිණෙන්න ඕන. මොකද නැත්තම් ඊට වැඩි ලොකු හානියක් මෙතන සිද්ධ වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඔබතුමා මහවය නෙමෙයි. ඔබතුමා මහවය යන්න කොහෙමනම්? හොඳයි බුසරණයි ඈ.
Parliamentarian W.D. Veerasinghe, who serves as the chairman of the Ampara District Coordination Committee meeting, also arrived at the location to inquire into the matter. MP Veerasinghe then clarified the matter to the Additional Secretary of Buddhist Affairs at the Presidential Secretariat.
Former President of Maldives and current Speaker of the Parliament Mohammad Nasheed was injured in a blast outside his family home yesterday.
The Maldivian police in a statement said that Speaker Mohammad Nasheed is receiving treatment at the ADK hospital in Malé following an explosion. Said an investigation into the explosion was underway. He added that, quote, "We are treating this matter with utmost seriousness," end quote. A foreign tourist was also injured in the explosion. US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Elena B. Teplitz, was among those who condemned the attack. In a tweet posted yesterday, the US Ambassador said, quote, "Wishing Speaker Nasheed a swift recovery. We join President Soli in condemning the attack that injured him," end quote. German Ambassador to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Holger Seubert, said that Germany condemns the attack on Speaker Mohammad Nasheed in the strongest possible terms. While wishing him a swift and full recovery, the ambassador said, quote, "Cowardly attacks like this will never result in shaking Maldives' stable democracy," end quote.
Manchester United reached their first final of the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era, but lost their 7-match unbeaten record in an entertaining Europa League Glasgow tie with Roma. From that, we bring to a close this edition of Lunchtime News on TV1. For details of these stories and much more, simply log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst, the voice of the people, I'm Martin Satyanesan. Take care and stay safe.